The hospital room remains dimly lit, shadows dancing on the walls as Michael and Nora sit in the fragile space between duty and desire. Michael lowers his book. "You always do this. Checking in on me like I'm some lost cause." Nora, softly. "You're not a lost cause, Michael. You just don't like being cared for." Michael chuckles, "Maybe. But you make it hard to fight it." Nora tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear, looking down as if searching for the right words. Michael watches her, the room suddenly feeling too small for all the things left unsaid. Nora, after a pause. "They're transferring you soon." Michael, his smirk fades. "So it's official?" Nora nods. "I overheard the doctors. They don't want to risk complications." Michael exhales sharply, running a hand through his hair. They both know the real reason, because of her. Because the whispers had started. The stolen glances. The lingering touches. Someone must have noticed. "Michael, and you. What happens when I leave?" Nora forces a smile. "I keep working, pretending none of this ever happened." Michael leans in slightly. "Can you do that?" Nora whispers, "I don't know." He reaches for her hand, hesitating before their fingers brush. The warmth is intoxicating, dangerous. "Michael, come with me." Nora, blinking surprised, "What?" Michael, "When I get out of here. Come with me." Silence stretches between them, heavy and full of longing. The weight of the world stands between them, but in this moment, they are just two people on the edge of something neither can name. Nora pulls her hand away, her heart pounding. She shakes her head, not in rejection but in disbelief. Nora, "Michael, you don't know what you're asking." Michael, intense, unwavering, "I do. I know exactly what I'm asking." Nora, softly, "If I leave, I lose everything." Michael leans closer. "And if you stay, do you still have anything at all?" Nora exhales shakily, looking away. She knows he's right. Every stolen moment with him has made it harder to pretend her life outside this room still feels real. The hospital, her job, the routine, it all feels like a shell of something she used to care about. But Michael, he's the one thing that makes her heart race, the one thing that makes her feel alive. Nora whispers, "How would it even work?" Michael, a small, hopeful smile. "We figure it out. Together." She wants to say yes. Wants to throw caution away and follow him into the unknown. But reality crashes back: her job, the consequences, the risk. If anyone finds out, she could lose her license, her future. And yet, the idea of never seeing him again feels like an unbearable weight pressing on her chest. The distant sound of footsteps echoes in the hallway. Nora stiffens. Nora, urgent, "You have to rest. Should go." Michael grabs her wrist gently. "Don't shut me out. Not now." Nora, searching his face, "I won't. I need to think." She pulls away, the warmth of his touch lingering on her skin as she moves toward the door. Before she slips out, she turns back, her voice barely above a whisper. "Nora, if I say yes, would you really wait for me?" Michael, without hesitation, "Always." She disappears down the dimly lit corridor, leaving Michael staring at the closed door. His chest tightens, not from pain, but from something far more dangerous. Hope. Nora pushes the door open and slips inside. A familiar figure is already there: James, a patient in a hoodie, waiting near the back lockers. His eyes light up when he sees her. "James, you took your time. Thought you changed your mind." Nora, softly. "Dr. Harris almost caught me." James, grinning. "Guess that means this is our last time sneaking around?" Nora shakes her head, stepping closer. "Nora, no. I just have to be more careful." James lifts a hand, brushing a strand of hair from her face. James whispers. Careful takes the fun out of it. Their gazes lock, unspoken longing thick between them. A noise outside the door. Nora jerks back. Her heart pounds. "Nora, you should go." James. Quietly. Meet me after your shift? She hesitates, then nods. He slips out the back door, disappearing into the night. Nora exhales sharply, pressing a hand to her chest. She's in too deep. But stopping now. Impossible. Nora slips inside, locking the door behind her. She leans against it, exhaling. Her hands tremble slightly as she removes her coat. The weight of the secret, the risk, it's all catching up to her. Her phone buzzes. Message from James. James, still awake. Nora hesitates, then types back. Nora, barely. You okay? James, better now. I meant what I said. We don't have to stop. Nora bites her lip, staring at the screen. Before she can respond, another text comes in. James. Meet me tomorrow? Same place. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. The logical part of her screams to stop this before it's too late. But her heart, it's already made its choice. She types a single word. Nora is. She sets the phone down, but sleep won't come easily. Nora moves through the morning shift as if on autopilot. Her usual rhythm: check vitals, update charts, answer calls. But beneath the surface, she's restless. She glances up and freezes. Dr. Harris stands across the room, deep in conversation with another doctor. Then his sharp gaze flickers toward her. A split-second pause. Calculating. Does he know? Nora forces herself to look away, busying herself with a clipboard. Her pulse quickens. As she turns to leave, a voice stops her. Dr. Harris. Nora. She slowly turns. Dr. Harris. A word. Her stomach tightens. Dr. Harris sits behind his desk, fingers steepled. His office is sterile, impersonal, just like the man himself. Nora stands, hands clasped in front of her. Dr. Harris. I've noticed you seem preoccupied lately. Nora's throat dries. They come. Nora, I just long shifts, sir. Lack of sleep. Dr. Harris. Nods. That happens. But distractions can be dangerous here, Nora. For you and for our patients. Beep. Dr. Harris. You wouldn't keep anything from me, would you? The air feels heavy. Nora shakes her head. Nora, no, sir. Dr. Harris watches her for a long moment. Then he leans back. Dr. Harris, good. Nora forces a nod and turns to leave, her legs stiff. But as she reaches the door, his voice stops her one last time. Dr. Harris. Be careful, Nora. I always find out the truth. Her breath catches. She pushes the door open and steps out, heart hammering. Does he know? Or is he just fishing? Either way, she's running out of time. Nora walks briskly across the dimly lit lot, glancing over her shoulder. Dr. Harris's warning lingers in her mind, making every shadow feel like a set of watchful eyes. Near the edge of the lot, she spots James leaning against a parked motorcycle, hood up. He looks up when he sees her, a slow grin spreading across his face. James. Didn't think you'd show. Nora. Neither did I. James studies her face, his grin fading slightly. James. Something wrong. Nora exhales, stepping closer. Nora. Dr. Harris. He's watching me. Watching us. James' expression darkens. James. He doesn't know anything, does he? Nora. I don't think so. But he suspects something. And if he finds out... James reaches for her hand, squeezing it gently. James, we'll be careful. Nora. James, maybe we should. James. Firmly, no. Don't say it. Nora hesitates, torn between her emotions and the risks. James. I've spent enough time trapped in that place. The only thing keeping me sane was you. Beep. James glances around before lowering his voice. James, let's go somewhere. Just for tonight. Away from here. Nora hesitates, but the way he's looking at her, the desperation in his voice, it's enough. He nods. James parks the motorcycle near an old bridge on the outskirts of town. The city lights shimmer in the distance. The air is cool, filled with the sound of distant traffic and rustling trees. They sit on the edge, legs dangling over the side. James pulls a cigarette from his pocket but doesn't light it. Just twirls it between his fingers. Nora, you never smoke those. James, just a habit. A silence lingers. And Nora, why were you in the hospital, James? He stiffens slightly, staring out at the skyline. James, it's not a great story. Nora, I still want to hear it. James exhales, tapping the cigarette against his palm. James, let's just say, I made some bad choices. Got mixed up with the wrong people. And when things went south, I ended up in there. Nora watches him, waiting. Nora, that's not the whole story. James lets out a dry chuckle. James, you don't give up, do you? Nora. Softly. Not on you. James finally looks at her, something unreadable in his eyes. Then, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small, folded photograph. He hands it to her. Nora unfolds it carefully. It's an old picture of James, maybe 16, standing beside a woman with kind eyes and a tired smile. His mother. James. She worked 3 jobs just to keep us afloat. But no matter how hard she tried, we always ended up one step behind. He swallows hard, his voice quieter now. James, she got sick. And I got desperate. Nora's chest tightens. Nora, James, shaking his head. I did things I'm not proud of. I thought I was helping. But instead, I lost everything. Beep. James exhales sharply, running a hand through his hair. James. I wasn't supposed to make it out of that place. But I did. And now, all I want is to start over. Nora reaches for his hand, intertwining their fingers. Nora, then we'll figure it out. Together. James looks at her, searching her face for doubt. When he finds none, he squeezes her hand. For the first time in a long time, hope flickers in his eyes. But in the distance, hidden in the shadows, a car sits parked. Someone is watching. And their secret. It won't stay hidden for long. Michael and Nora pull apart slightly, their breaths mingling in the dim light. Michael. Softly. We're playing with fire. Nora. Smirks. Then let it burn. She traces her fingers along his jawline, but Michael catches her wrist. His expression conflicted. Michael. If anyone finds out. Nora. Interrupts. No one will. Michael. My father suspects something. He asked me about you today. Nora stiffens, her fingers curling into his shirt. Nora. And what did you say? Michael. That I barely know you. That you're just staff. A flash of hurt crosses Nora's face, but she quickly hides it, forcing a teasing smile. Nora, good. That's what I am, right? Michael. Shakes his head. You know you're more than that. Nora exhales, her guard momentarily slipping. She leans her forehead against his. Nora, we should be more careful. Maybe meet somewhere else. Michael, no. Here I know it's safe. Nora, safe. Laughs softly. Nothing about this is safe, Michael. Michael. Murmurs, and yet I don't care. They share another quiet moment, the weight of their reality pressing down on them. Then, a sudden noise outside the door makes them both freeze. Footsteps. A shadow passes beneath the door. Nora. Whispers. Someone's outside. Michael. Lowers his voice. Stay quiet. The doorknob rattles. Michael tenses, his pulse quickening. Voice outside the door. Michael. Are you awake? It's his father. The sound of Michael's father's voice sends a chill through the room. Nora steps back quickly, her heart racing. Michael. Whispers urgently. Get in the closet. Nora. Hesitant. Michael. Michael. His voice sharp now. Nora moves toward the closet, trying to remain as quiet as possible. She closes the door softly behind her, peering through a crack. Michael stands frozen by the bed. His face a mask of tension. Outside, the footsteps grow louder, then stop in front of the door. Michael swallows hard as he waits. Richard, Michael's father, from outside the door. Michael? Michael takes a slow, steadying breath, then opens the door slightly. His father's face is stern, his eyes sharp as ever. Michael, acting nonchalant. "Yeah, Dad." Richard, eyes narrowing. "Can I come in?" Michael, hesitant. Sure. Just a minute." Michael steps back, trying to keep his voice steady. He quickly glances at the closet door, then back to his father as the door opens wider. Richard, eyes scanning the room. "You've been spending a lot of time alone lately. You okay?" Michael, forced casualness. "Yeah, just thinking." Richard, still eyeing him closely. "Thinking, huh? About what?" Michael, shrugs. "Stuff. Cool. Family." There's a beat of silence. Michael's heart races as his father lingers in the doorway, his sharp gaze never leaving him. Richard, gruffly. "If there's something you need to talk about, you know where to find me." Michael nods, biting the inside of his cheek, praying his father doesn't notice the tension in the room. Michael, "No." Richard, pauses for a moment. "Good. Just be careful. There's a lot riding on you." Michael's breath catches in his throat as his father gives him one last look, then turns to leave. Michael, quietly. "Thanks, Dad." As Richard walks down the hallway, Michael lets out a slow, shaky breath. He moves quickly to the closet, opening the door just enough to peek inside. Michael whispers, "You okay?" Nora, softly. "Yeah. That was close." Michael sighs, "Too close." He takes her hand, pulling her gently from the closet. Michael, quietly. "We need to be smarter." Nora, nodding. "I don't want to lose this us, but I don't want to get caught either." Michael cups her face, brushing a thumb over her cheek. Michael, "I won't let that happen." They share a tender, fleeting kiss, knowing the risk they're taking but unwilling to stop. The world outside their little bubble is a dangerous place, but in this moment, all that matters is the connection between them. Nora, softly. "Promise me we'll be careful." Michael whispers, "I promise." The door clicks softly behind Michael as he locks it, ensuring they're alone. Nora is still standing by the bed, the weight of their secret pressing heavily between them. She watches him closely as he moves to the window, pulling the blinds down slightly to ensure no one can see inside. Nora, quietly. "Do you think he suspects?" Michael turns toward her, his voice low. "I don't know. He's been more watchful lately." He moves toward her, his expression conflicted. Michael, "I hate lying to him, but if he knew." Nora, interrupting softly. "He wouldn't understand." Michael nods, his gaze shifting as if lost in thought. Michael, "I'm just scared." Pauses, taking a breath. "I'm scared of losing you. But I'm also scared of what would happen if this all comes crashing down." Nora steps closer, her hand reaching out to him. "I won't let that happen." They share a long, quiet moment before Nora pulls away slightly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Nora, what if it already has?" Michael's eyes widen in confusion, and Nora looks away, her gaze clouding with doubt. "Michael, what do you mean?" Nora, her voice trembling. "I've been hearing things, rumors, that someone's been watching us." Michael freezes, the blood draining from his face. The room suddenly feels smaller, more suffocating. Michael, staring at her, panic creeping in. "Who?" Nora shakes her head. "I don't know. But I've heard whispers around the estate. Someone knows." Michael takes a step back, rubbing the back of his neck as the reality of the situation sinks in. Michael whispers, "We have to end this. Too dangerous." Nora's face falls, and for the first time, there's a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. Nora, softly, "I don't want to." Michael, struggling, "I don't either, but we can't." Nora, interrupting, her voice rising, "We can't what? Keep hiding. Keep pretending we're not this." She steps closer, almost pleading, her hand reaching for his again. Nora, desperate, I'm not asking you to stop caring. I'm asking you to fight for us. Michael looks torn, his body rigid as he struggles with his emotions. Michael, his voice breaking. What if fighting means losing everything else? Nora. Softly. What's worth more? For a long, tense moment, neither of them speaks. Then Michael pulls her into his arms. His voice soft but filled with resolve. Michael, I don't know yet. They stand together in the quiet darkness, the weight of their choices hanging in the air. Outside the window, the night feels endless. Their secret is on the verge of unraveling, and the consequences are too high to ignore. But for now, they hold on to each other, clinging to what little they have left. Lisa's gaze lingers on Nora, sensing that something is off. Nora shifts uncomfortably, tapping her fingers on the edge of the table. Lisa, leaning in. You know you can talk to me, right? Nora, glancing at her. It's nothing really. Just stuff at work. You know how it is. Lisa, raising an eyebrow. You're not fooling me. You've been distant for weeks now. Something's going on, Nora. Nora hesitates, biting her lip as if debating whether to confess. She finally exhales, pushing her chair back and standing up, walking toward the window. Nora, softly. It's not the work, Lisa. Something personal. Something I've been trying to ignore. Lisa stands up and moves closer to her, concern growing in her expression. Lisa. Gently. What's going on? Nora's eyes dart away. Her voice barely a whisper as she tries to suppress the emotion that's threatening to spill over. Nora pauses, then confesses. I think I'm in love with someone here. Lisa's eyes widen, a mixture of surprise and understanding crossing her face. Lisa. Carefully. Who? Nora hesitates, her heart pounding as she decides whether to reveal the truth. Nora. Quietly. It's Dr. Hayes. He's been so kind to me lately, and I don't know how to stop feeling this way. It's complicated. Lisa stares at her in shock for a moment, then slowly processes what Nora just said. Lisa. Slowly, Dr. Hayes. But he's your boss, Nora. That's a risky situation. You know that, right? Nora nods, frustration flickering across her features. Nora, bitterly. I know, Lisa. No. But when he looks at me like that, when he talks to me, it's like everything else fades away. Can't help it. Lisa exhales, her tone softening as she places a hand on Nora's shoulder. Lisa, gently. Nora, I know it's hard, but you have to think about this carefully. There's a lot at stake here. Not just your career but your well-being too. Nora turns back to her, looking conflicted. Nora, with a sigh, I just don't know what to do anymore. I'm afraid that if I let it go, I'll regret it. But if I act on it, it could destroy everything. Lisa gives her a knowing look, squeezing her shoulder. Lisa, calmly. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Just make sure it's the right decision for you, not just the one that feels good in the moment. Nora nods, her mind racing with the implications of her feelings. She stares at her hands for a long moment before finally meeting Lisa's gaze again. Nora. Softly. I'll think about it. Promise. The room falls silent for a moment, the weight of Nora's confession lingering in the air. The shift has ended, and Nora is walking down the hallway, her mind still consumed by the conversation with Lisa. Her heart beats erratically as she nears the break room, where Dr. Hayes is standing by the coffee machine, speaking to a colleague. She pauses, her breath catching in her throat as she watches him. Dr. Hayes glances up and notices Nora. His smile is warm, and for a brief moment, it feels like he's looking at her with a special kind of recognition, something beyond the professional. Dr. Hayes, smiling. Nora, just the person I was looking for. Nora's heart skips a beat, and she quickly collects herself, putting on a neutral expression as she walks toward him. Nora, forcing a smile. Dr. Hayes, what's up? Dr. Hayes. chuckling. Please, it's Tom when we're not on the clock. You're off today, right? Nora nods, feeling a pang of disappointment at the thought of leaving the hospital but trying not to show it. Nora, yeah, just finished up. Tom looks at her thoughtfully for a moment, as if considering something. Tom, you've been working really hard lately. You deserve some time to relax. Pauses, then adds. Have you had a chance to catch up on your personal life? You know, when you're not taking care of patients. Nora laughs nervously, unsure of how to answer. Her thoughts flash to Lisa's warning about getting too close. Nora, shrugging. I guess I've been a little busy. Not much time for anything else. Tom seems to sense the tension, his smile fading slightly as he takes a step closer. Tom, softly. I know the feeling, but it's important to take care of yourself too, you know? Nora's heart races, and she's caught between wanting to say something and holding back. She feels vulnerable, like this is a line she might cross that could change everything. Nora. Gently. I'll try. Thanks, Tom. Tom's expression softens and he nods, though there's a hint of something more in his eyes. For a brief moment, their gazes lock, and Nora feels a wave of emotion she can't quite explain. She quickly breaks eye contact, feeling the weight of what might be unfolding. Nora, quickly. I should probably go. I'll see you tomorrow. Tom gives a small, understanding nod, though his gaze lingers a little longer than usual. Tom. Softly. Take care, Nora. Nora nods and turns to leave, but her mind is reeling. As she walks away, she feels a confusing mix of relief and longing, torn between her desire for him and the fear of what might come from acting on it. Nora sits on her couch, her phone in hand, scrolling through a series of texts from Lisa. She's trying to distract herself, but her thoughts keep drifting back to Tom. She replays his words over and over in her head, the intensity of his gaze, the kindness in his tone. The phone buzzes with a new message from Lisa. Lisa, you okay? Nora takes a deep breath, debating whether to share her feelings. She types a quick reply. Nora, yeah, just thinking about everything. She stares at the screen for a long moment before hitting send. She doesn't have the answers, but she knows one thing for sure. She can't keep pretending this isn't happening. Something between her and Tom is changing, and she doesn't know if she's ready for what that might mean. Nora sits at her kitchen table, the soft hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the quiet apartment. Her fingers trace the rim of her coffee mug, but her mind is miles away. The thoughts of Tom, their interaction earlier, keep replaying in her mind. She can't seem to shake the feeling of wanting more of wanting him. She glances at her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen as she considers texting him. But she pulls back, unsure of how to bridge the gap between professionalism and what she feels. Just as she's about to put her phone down, another message from Lisa pops up. Lisa, you didn't say much earlier. What are you going to do? Nora reads the message, feeling a twinge of guilt for not being more open. She takes a deep breath, the weight of her emotions pressing down on her. She types out a response. Nora, I don't know. I'm so conflicted. I feel like I'm walking a fine line. I don't want to lose my job or make things weird between us. She hits send, then sets the phone down, her hands trembling slightly. It's a delicate situation. She's starting to feel like everything in her life is about to change, and it scares her. The shift begins, and Nora walks through the hospital hallways, her nerves taut with anticipation. She's trying to stay focused, but she can't help but look for Tom at every turn. Her heart skips when she finally sees him in the distance, standing in the nurse's station, flipping through some patient files. He doesn't notice her approach until she's almost right beside him. Tom, looking up, smiling. Nora, glad to see you. Ready for another busy day. Nora forces a smile, feeling the weight of their previous conversation hanging in the air. Nora, nervously. Yeah, of course. You know me, always ready. Tom chuckles and turns back to his files, but there's a certain ease in his demeanor now, like the distance that once existed between them has narrowed. Tom, after a pause. Listen, I wanted to thank you again for staying late the other night. You really helped out when we had that emergency. Nora's heart swells at the compliment, and she feels a rush of warmth, but then a wave of guilt follows. She's conflicted again, her feelings are pulling her in one direction, but her better judgment is trying to ground her. Nora, softly. It's nothing really. Just doing my job. Tom looks at her, his expression softening. He leans against the counter, his posture relaxed, yet there's a certain intensity in his gaze. Tom, quietly. You know, I've noticed how hard you work. And I'm not just talking about the hours you put in. There's something about the way you care for your patients. It's impressive. You don't just do your job, Nora. You care. Nora's breath catches in her throat. She's not sure if he means it as a compliment or if there's something more behind his words. Her heart races, and she finds herself searching his eyes for any hint of deeper meaning. Nora, hesitantly. Thanks, Tom. That means a lot to me. Tom smiles again, his eyes lingering on her a bit longer than usual. Nora can feel her pulse quickening, and for a brief moment, it's as if the world around them fades. She's acutely aware of his presence, of the electricity crackling between them. Tom, smiling softly. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you've got an amazing way about you. People don't always see that, but I do. Nora's breath catches, her mind racing with the unspoken words that hang between them. Could it be? Is he feeling it too? Suddenly, the intercom blares, breaking the moment. Nora's head snaps to the side, and she's jolted back into reality. Intercom. Over the speaker, code blue. Room 317. Nora blinks, snapping out of the daze she was in. Tom straightens up immediately, his professional demeanor returning. Tom, firmly, let's go, Nora. We need to get to that room. Nora nods, the tension between them palpable, and they both hurry down the hallway together, their focus shifting back to the task at hand. But as they rush through the doors of the patient's room, Nora's mind doesn't settle. Her thoughts are a whirlwind, the weight of Tom's words and the pull between them not easily ignored. After the chaos of the code blue has settled, Nora finds herself back in the staff room, the exhaustion of the day weighing heavily on her shoulders. She takes a seat, her mind still spinning from the events of the day. Her phone buzzes again. Another message from Lisa. Lisa, so. Did something happen today? Nora stares at the message for a moment, then types her reply. Nora, I don't know. He said some things today that I can't stop thinking about. I'm trying to keep it together, but it's hard. She pauses, the phone trembling in her hands before hitting send. Nora, what do I do, Lisa? I don't want to mess things up, but I can't keep pretending this isn't real. She sets her phone down, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. She doesn't have the answers yet, but she knows one thing for sure. She can't ignore what's growing between her and Tom. Michael tightens his grip on Nora as he pulls her in closer, his voice low with intensity. Michael, I won't let them tear us apart, Nora. No matter what happens, we stay strong. Together. Nora clings to him, but her face is etched with fear and uncertainty. Nora, but what if they find out? What if the hospital staff puts it all together? Michael pulls back slightly, cupping her face in his hands, his eyes steady, filled with determination. Michael, we'll handle it. We've come this far. You're not alone in this. Nora takes a shaky breath, trying to steady her racing heart. She can feel the weight of their secret pressing down on her. She looks down, unable to meet his gaze. Nora, softly. I'm scared, Michael. They're already asking too many questions. Michael moves behind her, his hands gently resting on her shoulders as he speaks, trying to reassure her. Michael, we knew it wouldn't be easy, but love like ours is worth the fight. They can't take that from us. Nora looks up at him, her eyes searching for any trace of doubt, but she finds none. She nods slowly, her resolve strengthening. Nora, I just want to be with you. I want this to be real. There's a brief moment of silence. Then they hear footsteps outside the door. They exchange a look, the danger of being caught more real than ever. Michael quickly pulls away, moving to the window, keeping his back to the door as Nora adjusts herself. Nora quickly grabs a chart from the side table, pretending to be busy when the door opens. Dr. Peterson steps in, glancing at both of them with a knowing smile. He's seen the tension between them but has never questioned it. Until now. Dr. Peterson, casually. "Everything all right in here?" Nora quickly meets his gaze, forcing a smile. "Nora. Just making sure everything's in order, doctor." Dr. Peterson gives a short nod. His eyes flicking to Michael, then back to Nora. He pauses for a beat, as if deciding whether to speak his mind. Dr. Peterson, musing. "You two seem to have a special connection." The tension in the room thickens. Michael stands still, avoiding Dr. Peterson's gaze. Nora's heart races, but she forces herself to stay calm. "Nora, lightly. We've been working together for a while. It's natural for us to bond." Dr. Peterson narrows his eyes, clearly not convinced. He turns to leave but pauses at the door. Dr. Peterson, with a slight warning tone. "Just be careful, Nora. People talk in a place like this. And secrets, they have a way of coming out." With that, he exits, leaving Nora and Michael standing in the tense silence. The weight of his words lingers. Michael whispers, "We can't let them ruin this." Nora slowly turns to face him, her eyes filled with resolve once again. "Nora, no, we can't. We'll find a way." They lock eyes, the unspoken bond between them stronger than ever before, knowing that their fight for love has only just begun. The dim light from the hallway seeps through the cracks in the blinds. Nora and Michael sit in tense silence. The sound of distant voices and the faint hum of medical machines fill the air. Nora stands up and begins to pace slowly, her thoughts racing. Nora, muttering to herself, "It's getting harder, Michael. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up. People are starting to notice." Michael watches her, his jaw tightening. He stands and moves toward her, placing a hand gently on her arm to stop her pacing. Michael, softly, "Nora. We knew it wouldn't be easy. But we've faced worse, remember?" Nora looks at him, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and desperation. "Nora," whispers, "what if they take you away from me? What if the hospital finds out and they separate us?" Michael's expression softens. He takes her hand, his grip firm yet comforting. "Michael, they can't take me from you. They can try but they won't succeed. I'll protect us, no matter the cost." Nora looks at him for a long moment, searching his eyes, and then nods. She wants to believe him more than anything. But the fear of getting caught is overwhelming. "Nora," with a small smile, "you're right. We've been through too much already. We can handle this too." They stand close, sharing a brief moment of quiet strength before the door opens again. The sound of footsteps grows louder, and they instinctively move apart. Dr. Peterson enters, his eyes narrowing as he steps inside. Dr. Peterson, casually, "I just wanted to check in, make sure everything's still on track." Nora quickly adjusts her position, pretending to focus on a chart, while Michael glances toward the door, silently acknowledging the tension in the room. "Michael, everything's fine, doctor. Just the usual." Dr. Peterson studies them for a moment, clearly not convinced. He steps closer, eyes lingering on Michael and then Nora, as though weighing his next words. "Dr. Peterson," low voice, "I'm not blind, you know. Something's going on between the two of you. I've seen the way you look at each other. You think you're fooling everyone." Nora feels her heart race. Michael's eyes harden, but he doesn't speak right away. He knows the game they're playing is about to change. "Nora," forced calm, "there's nothing going on, doctor. We're just doing our jobs. Nothing more." Dr. Peterson's gaze sharpens. He crosses his arms over his chest, clearly skeptical but unwilling to push further for now. Dr. Peterson, after a long pause, just be careful. A hospital is full of secrets, and you're playing a dangerous game. With that, he turns and leaves, leaving a heavy silence in his wake. The door clicks shut behind him. Nora exhales a breath she didn't realize she was holding, her shoulders slumping with the weight of the conversation. Michael, quietly, that was close. Nora turns to face him, her mind racing. She knows they're running out of time and soon they won't be able to hide their secret any longer. Nora, softly. What now, Michael? How much longer can we keep pretending? Michael steps closer, his hand reaching for hers. He holds it gently yet firmly. Michael, we don't have a choice. We keep going, one day at a time. But I promise you this, I will fight for us. I'll never give up on you. Nora looks up at him, the fear in her eyes replaced by a flicker of hope. She leans into him, her voice barely above a whisper. Nora, together. Michael smiles, a reassuring, confident smile that tells her everything she needs to know. Michael, always. Together. The morning light filters softly through the blinds. Nora sits at the small desk, writing in a notebook, her eyes heavy with exhaustion but her mind still racing. Michael stands by the window, staring out, lost in thought. The quiet of the room is interrupted by the sound of the door creaking open. The nurse, Lila, enters with a tray of breakfast. She sets it down on the table, her usual cheerful demeanor masking a hint of curiosity as she eyes the two of them. She's seen the subtle exchanges between them, but hasn't dared to speak up yet. Lila, brightly. Morning, you two. How are we feeling today? Nora offers a faint smile, trying to appear normal, while Michael gives a brief nod of acknowledgement. Michael, lightly. Just fine, thanks. Lila sets a cup of coffee down in front of Nora, her gaze lingering just a bit longer than usual. Lila, with a small smile. You two make a pretty good team. Always seem to know what the other one needs. Nora stiffens slightly, but forces a smile, not wanting to reveal any crack in their carefully crafted facade. Nora, casually. We've been working together for a while. It's nothing really. Lila smiles knowingly, then walks toward the door. She glances back over her shoulder, as if weighing something. Lila, softly. Just be careful. Secrets have a way of getting out. This place is full of whispers. Nora's heart skips a beat. Lila's words are heavy, but she doesn't say anything more before leaving the room, leaving behind the lingering weight of her warning. Michael watches her leave, then turns to Nora. The concern is evident in his eyes. Michael, quietly. That was close. Do you think she knows? Nora shakes her head, though doubt lingers in her gaze. She takes a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. Nora, firmly, I don't know. But we can't let it stop us. We're in this together. We've come too far. There's a long pause, the air thick with unspoken words. Michael steps toward her, closing the distance between them. Michael, softly. We'll figure this out. I won't let anything tear us apart. Before Nora can respond, the door opens again. This time it's Dr. Peterson. His expression is more serious, his eyes sharp as he steps into the room. Dr. Peterson, low voice. We need to talk. Nora's stomach tightens. Michael moves to stand beside her, their bond unspoken but evident in the way they face Dr. Peterson together. Dr. Peterson, more sternly. There's been some talk, Nora. Some concerns from the staff. It's getting harder to ignore. Nora's mind races, panic rising, but she forces herself to remain calm. She looks at Michael, then back at Dr. Peterson, trying to control the fear that threatens to betray her. Nora, casually. I don't know what you mean, doctor. Everything's fine. Dr. Peterson crosses his arms, his gaze steady. He seems to be choosing his next words carefully. Dr. Peterson, quietly. You're not fooling anyone, and I'm not going to let this place become a circus. I've seen the way you two look at each other. It's not professional. Nora's breath catches in her throat. The walls she's carefully built around their relationship are crumbling piece by piece. Nora, defensive, there's nothing going on. Just a friendship. Michael takes a step forward, his voice calm but firm. Michael, reassuring, Dr. Peterson, we've been working together for a long time. There's no reason for anyone to get involved in our personal matters. Dr. Peterson eyes them both for a long moment, then nods slowly as if he's weighing their words. He seems to decide to let it go for now. Dr. Peterson, grudgingly, fine. But just remember I'm watching. If this gets out of hand, it won't end well for either of you. He turns and walks out, leaving the room in a thick silence. Nora exhales, relieved for the moment, but the fear lingers in her chest. Nora, whispering, that was too close. Michael, quietly, we have to stay one step ahead. They won't stop looking, but we won't stop either. Nora looks at him, her resolve hardening. She's scared, yes, but she's not about to let this end, not when they've come so far. Nora, determined, we'll find a way. We have to.